It's a sad box. It's a soap box. It's FanBox.
Well, hey there, sugar. This here's Lenore Zan, and you're watching Fandoms.
And that's correct. It is Fandoms. We are on exclusively on FanBox. Thank you for joining us. Whether you're watching live, watching it afterward, or you're listening on the podcast, which you can get this on podcasts. We are really appreciative of having you on. I'm Tony, and with me always is Will Wilkins. If you don't know that Will Wilkins, part of this podcast network, be sure to check out Netheads, Thursday nights as he's able, and be sure to check out more about what we're doing here at Nerd Initiative. If you are watching through X, or if you're watching on Facebook, be sure to check us out at Nerd Initiative, at itsfanbox.com. Also, be sure to check out Nerd Initiative to see the editorial aspect and everything else of the stuff, because Michael and I run that too. So by all means, we'd love to see you guys check that out there. But this is going to be a little bit more of a channel for fun discussions. Not going to be serious. We're not going to have regular schedules, though it seems like that's what's happening. Like, basically, Fandoms is every other Friday night, unless I decide I want to do more, which be doing murder to Will. And then, of course, right now we're doing the Agatha All Along series on Saturday nights at 10 o'clock, which by all means, I posted the first episode through Transistor on all of our podcasts, wherever you can find podcasts at. And in the first 5 days, we had 36 downloads, which is pretty good for like a first episode where nobody knows it's coming. So absolutely excited about that. Will, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I feel like I've just been in a kind of a state of frenzy for the longest time. And like today is my first moment to breathe. So to make sure I could relax before we did Fandoms, I went to my chiropractor, get worked on, get real loose. And then to keep that low energy vibe going, I went to Costco. So I've been to both ends of the spectrum, actually. No, I know Costco is hell. Sure. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to be there Friday, like around 3 p.m. This is great. I'm going to beat the rush, Tony. And you know what I did instead? I found everybody going to Costco. So that was, that was
because a lot of people pick up their kids for the end of the weekend or end of the week and are getting all their stuff prepped for the weekend.
Actually, I think it was a lot of food prep people getting their stuff, because like the cart in front of me, I kid you not, it was at least 3 rows wide, 4 rows deep, maybe 3, and at least 1, 2, 3, 4, I would say 6 stacked high in tortillas. This guy was just buying tortillas. That's all. And so I really think it's a lot of the food prep people. But you know what, Tony, actually, if I may do what I like to do best, which apparently is completely derail things. First of all, thank you for saying, as always, even though the last episode of Fandoms or the one before that, I didn't make it. So, but that's fine. There was a guest, probably well balanced anyway. But the second thing too is you actually are in a situation that I have been wondering about for a while. So you're starting out a new venture, a new energy, a new vibe, all of that stuff. But most importantly, also, you now have new distribution channels, right? So my question to you is, was there ever a consideration? Because I've not been in this situation before. I've always been in a situation where it was, a network of things, and each show had its own podcast feed, et cetera. But did you guys go with, and I don't mean to tip my hat that I haven't subscribed yet, but did you guys go with show specific RSS feeds, podcast distribution channels, or is it just one centralized It's FanBox feed?
So it's really cool. If you're not familiar, like, it's been interesting because like the last year or so, I've done multiple podcasts where I've put other shows on. Some of them kind of fizzled out in their activity, and of course Fandoms I kept posting. But I was originally using Anchor, which became Spotify podcast for podcasters. And then I knew for that you had to have an Anchor account for every single podcast, which
Mhm.
got tedious and frustrating. So then I found transistor.fm, and you create one account, and then under that account you can have show specific RSS feeds, and then from there it'll do the work of it. Literally where it says it has like a window for like distribution, and it will tell you, do you want to go here, do you want to go there, and you just say yes, yes, yes. The only thing that I had to like go and intentionally work for was for the what was the Apple podcast application. You
Mhm.
have to have an Apple for podcasters like login and everything else, and then you submit the RSS feed from
Uh-huh.
Transistor, and then once you've created your first episode, then you can officially publish on Apple, because they won't let you publish unless you actually produce your first episode or
Yeah,
at
that
least
which
a
is
teaser
why
trailer.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's the reason why a lot of podcasts now will have a trailer before they launch. So that way they know the RSS feed. Wow, I'm sorry. Apparently, in speaking, I'm now missing every other letter. I'm talking and everything's fine, and then I mess up the last
Mhm.
cranberry. Anyway, uh, so that's cool. So
Okay, Jarvis.
once again, unfortunately, I have dated myself in not having to step out and see what the state of technology is now in regards to podcasting. Because again,
Mhm.
I've been working in very situated, very locked in scenarios. I haven't had to look at starting something up in a while, but it is nice to hear that you can both do the type of thing where you can
Mhm.
have a feed for everything and a feed for, just the show one way or another.
Yep.
It's interesting too in the state of podcasting, considering it's really hard to define what a podcast even is right now. And where does it originate? Where does it start? And what is its real distribution? Because it's technically all just another form of content, and it goes through many different distribution channels. But when it comes to what's going on in the world and people getting
Mhm.
their audio delivered to them. So let's just focus on it that way. The most basic part of it is also the most obscured when you think about it, because technically speaking, when you subscribe to a podcast, you're subscribing to the RSS feed, right? That's what you're
Yeah,
subscribing to. But
exactly.
there's also the urgency to be on Spotify, to be listed in the Apple Podcasts directory, which, by the way, is still completely dominant. Even Google said, yeah, you know what? Never mind. We're not going to bother. And they stepped away from it. It's like, okay, sure, we'll still list your stuff in YouTube Music, but, don't count on it.
Mhm.
But it all comes down to the RSS feed. And honestly speaking, some of the things I'm involved in right now, they are still using, I can't remember, but it's like one of the original and most basic RSS distribution platforms that bought by Google, FeedBurner. I've still got some RSS
Mhm.
feeds on FeedBurner. I'm going to have to do some moving sometime soon, because
Well,
that's a party that's going to end
that's the
sometime.
great thing about Transistor, though, because if you like when I was doing the Anchor account, I wanted to move everything over without there being a transition, and the only thing you had to have hard was the Apple account. I was able to go to Transistor, and it moved the RSS feed over, so there was no loss or there was no big
Oh, yeah,
thing.
yeah,
It was
yeah.
just,
I don't get
yeah,
me
the
wrong.
migration was wonderful.
I can do the same thing. And by the way, if you really want, if you've ever questioned my nerd cred, okay, what I'm about to say, I think establishes it at least part way, because what
Mhm.
you're talking about in the RSS feed is a 301, which is a feed forward. So it's letting everybody know you're hitting my old feed. This is the new feed now, and the new feed, if it sets up correctly, when you get it set up, then it can ingest the GUIDs, the GUIDs for each podcast, so that way a person that's
Mhm.
subscribed can get moved, and they're not going to double download all the episodes.
Yeah, yeah.
Boom, nerd.
But I will say this though, Transistor for I think it's like $19 a month. Um, Not only do you get multiple episodes, but you can have teams within those episodes. So let's say Smodcast, okay? Kevin Smith is doing his thing. You want to have it where let's say Kevin can come in and do edits, or this person, and let's say you want to like if we want to do a whole network within its FanBox, we can have people that can submit and say, hey, listen, we want to migrate to you guys. We'll merge their RSS feed, and then we will give them accounts access so they can throw in their own episodes and do their own like linking and everything else. And Transistor lets you have like a Transistor like website, just so that you can have like a player, so you could send that specific feed to it. If you don't want to like direct them to Apple Podcast or whatever, you can actually take and like, I don't know if you've probably never looked at the Fandoms podcast. You are tagged as a host.
I've never
and
felt
it links
more,
to your X account. Now,
I've never felt
like,
more burned and more seen at the same time in that one statement. Since you probably haven't looked at it, the Fandoms.
Oh, I see the
podcast,
download
like,
history. I see the number of subscribers. So like I know, but I'm saying you're linked to that. And anybody who like a couple of weeks ago we had Ronell 8-bit Close Fist for the video game discussion, and I tagged him as a guest. And so it linked to his X account, and I could add extra information, and it shows him as an actual person, and I can choose what episodes to add them to. So like one episode way back when it was Michael and I doing the show back on the Nerd Initiative, you were listed as a guest, whereas now you're listed as a host, and you can do all of that, and you can build your kind of like your group of your ragtag team of podcasters. But it's really, it is really cool. As Z's talking about, everything we're talking about is really cool. It is really cool, to be able to do that. Now, I'll be honest with you. 10 years ago.
So wait a minute, by the way, I'd apologize. I just want to make sure I'm understanding correctly. So basically, much in the same way that like in TikTok, you can basically build a playlist of applicable things and in a theme. Is that what you're saying?
For the episodes?
Yeah.
So for each show, it is its own, like literally with Transistor. I wish I could just pull it up and show you. Like for Transistor, it at the top it says
not a paid advertisement.
Shows. It says shows, and you click on the shows, and it lists any show that you have listed as a podcast. And then you can go into that, and then you can work on that one specific show.
I got you. Never mind.
Yeah.
So literally, I heard something else. I got to be honest, Tony. Right before we got started, I went to go turn on the light that's over here. That's why everybody saw when the show started. I was turning on the light over here, and I hit my water bottle, and it fell on something, and it just went all over in pieces. And like with any 3D print, the moment it's tipped over and it hits the ground, or you hear the plastic falling apart, there's always concerns of, oh crap, did I get the alignment wrong? And this piece isn't as strong as I would hope. And did it all just fall apart, or did anything break? I'm happy to report nothing broke. And I won't say what it is I did. You've seen it, but I'm not going to reveal what it is to the people we're talking to, because I owe my own Patreon that has subscribers a first look at this thing when it hits the internet. But I'm just going to show you one little piece, just one little piece that belongs to this project. Just the one. You had one job, Tony.
Yeah.
Just the one.
No.
So I'm happy to report that still hasn't broken. I will say, though, in the way of these types of projects, it is very tight. I can talk in it. I can almost see in it, but I cannot smile in it. If I do, parts flange out that you don't want to. So it's a bit of a bummer. But anyway, and the last thing, too, if I can just work this in to break up the non-paid advertisement for Transistor FM, I would like to instead to plug something that is relevant, which is if you are in the Chicago area from Friday, October, I can't get this right, October 11th through the 13th. So that's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I believe. If you're a fan of Kevin Smith and you're in the greater Chicago area or somewhere around where you don't mind driving, he is having his first ever Chronicon for real. And even though it says Chronicon, it has nothing to do with weed. Okay, let's put that out there right now. But it's basically a mini convention just for Kevin Smith stuff. and I will be there all 3 days. No, I'm not going to have a booth. I'm just going to be
Nice.
wandering around. But if you happen to be a fan of Fandoms and you're in the area and you're already going, please, if you see me walking around, say hi.
Absolutely.
There we
That's
go.
cool. And speaking of unpaid advertisements, let's go ahead and just do another one here real quick. Mentioned this the last episode when we were dual streaming on Nerd Initiative and on its FanBox. And if you're on Facebook right now and you're watching this show, I want to explain to you, you're on a page that says Nerd Initiative. That is the old Nerd Initiative channel. We talked a lot about that last. Go back and watch the last Fandoms. We'll talk about how we were migrating the Facebook page. But if you want to follow Nerd Initiative on Facebook, you need to look up Nerd Initiative Prime. The Nerd Initiative, just straight Nerd Initiative Facebook page is going to be becoming its FanBox page. So just so you guys know that. And for those of you who are listening and you're not watching the show, which we know one of them is not Will, I'm going to show you a couple things that I got. I'm just messing with you.
It's such a shame you can't see what finger I'm holding up right now.
Yeah, and none. And so I was reached out by FanHome just to check out these really cool subscription comics. This is the Legend of Batman. Of course, Mr. Marvelite, first thing people think of.
Obviously, there's the connection right there.
No, and it's funny. It's funny this happens because Michael bought me my first ever graded comic, my one and only graded comic, and it's literally a Batman comic. So of course he had to do that because I'm a big Marvel fan. But hey, I do love Batman. I do love DC.
Even the wall behind me, there's a little. I mean, it's not busting out, but I've got DC represent as well. Mm-hmm. Batman, one of my first favorite ever heroes. The other one's in this corner up here. It's between the two. So anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So FanHome has gotten with DC Comics and they are doing a subscription of the Legend of Batman comic books. And I got the first two last month, or actually 2 months ago, which was the Batman 0 Year Part 1 and Part 2, which is really cool. If you liked Batman Begins and you liked that idea of Bruce is, he's believed dead. He comes back to Gotham. Things are in a bad state. And he's trying to figure things out. This is for you. This was the DC's attempt at figuring out what to do after the New 52. And honestly, 0 Year is pretty good. I'm definitely enjoying this. Then after that, the next I got the Batman and Son comic, which is of course Batman discovers that he has a kid, Damian Wayne, who was being raised by his mother, Talia, part of the Ra's al Ghul, the League of Assassins. And so, of course, Bruce is trying to do right by his son, and Damian becomes the next Robin in that case. And then I actually just got this week. These are listed under FanHome when they were sent to me as the UK titles. But this is the Batman Hush Part 1 and Part 2. And if you aren't familiar, I'm not either. So I'm going to be.
You are, sir. You are in for a treat. Let me tell you, because although you see, like I said, Marvel represented very heavily behind here. If there is any one thing I learned how to do in this world, it's to save a buck while still keying in on the important things, right? So the Hush Saga is one of those where I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to pick it up on digital. Actually, I think I was able to check it out on Amazon, possibly. Okay. And I'm just like, oh, well, I'll read this on my next flight. And oh my gosh, what an interesting bit. Definitely a very interesting time. I always pick up trades of like consolidated series of stories that I've heard are really good, right? Like what's the kooky guy's name who did Watchmen? Alan.
Oh, why are you
yeah, we're on microphone, so that's why something as simple as his name is blanking out on us. But he had I had been keyed in on the by somebody else by his reboot of the Swamp Thing character was something to behold.
Alan Moore.
Alan Moore. So I checked out that, for example. I also learned early on after it happened that one of the things I should check out is the whole what's the name of it? I can't believe I'm blanking on it now. Darkest Night series.
Okay. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
Actually, and it's funny, I actually got the Darkest Night series at a garage sale, and I was super excited about it. I haven't gotten to it yet. I do have a good number of hardback DC comics, and it's funny because when I remember we talked earlier this year when I went around March to South Carolina to that big book warehouse, mainly as a gift for my wife for her birthday. They had so many omnibuses, and so mind you, I got a ton of Marvel stuff, but I just had to get Neil Gaiman's Sandman's 1 and 2, and then I got Super Sons, which again another Damian Wayne story with Jonathan Kent, the two sons of these superheroes, but it's really cool. I mean, I'm really super excited. I'm looking forward to it. And what's really cool is they're not giving it to me in order, so it's not like I can just like say like here's what it's going to become. But literally, I've got some of Batman's cape on one of the spines. I'm thinking there's some of his trunk on this one, and I've got some stuff here. This eventually will be one large image, so when it sits on my shelf, it's going to be pretty cool looking. And if you want to check it out,
together.
yeah, when it all comes together. And again, that's the big thing with FanHome. FanHome gives you things, and it's not just books. They do things like the weirdest one I think was the building the ET, life-size ET. Like I didn't know I wanted that. But they have the Ecto One. They did the DeLorean from Back to the Future. You could build a quarter scale Iron Man. They've got a whole slew of Marvel miniature replicas, which are really cool. And there's like an Optimus Prime, and they just released the Star Trek series where you can get miniaturized versions of the Star Trek ships. So if you like the Romulan ships or the different Enterprises, those are there, and it's very cool. I'm just waiting for them to get into sonic screwdrivers at that point, because then my life will be over.
There you go. And I apologize. I wasn't not listening, Tony. But like one of the things that, because occasionally when things happen in our lives, right, we just kind of like, oh, this would be good for content, and you just start to grab it. Right now, I'm accumulating a bunch of videos in a series that I'm calling crap I caught the emos doing during the day, because for some reason, the developer of these robots decided that it would be really cool to make sure that at scheduled times they will randomly do something. So like between 9 and 9:30, they're going to be doing something, et cetera, et cetera. I'm sitting here trying to have a show with you. And in the meantime, the robot behind me is playing on his little screen with a digital drone, and it's buzzing around. And I'm like, I got to turn these things down. Careful what you wish for, kids. That's the lesson of the day, always. So I got to say, man, there's nothing like a good comic book story, honestly speaking. And it is quite a journey that I always love falling into a bunch of issues that have been collected together. So that way I can just like fall headfirst into a story. As a matter of fact, the only way I read The Walking Dead was just in trade paperback form, because it's like, oh, good, here's the complete parts of the story. Man, I did not
because I ended up reading it through Comixology.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Sometimes I like to have a book around, though. You know what I'm saying? That's let's see now. The Dark Knight Returns. Those I got as a gift, and I tangibly had them in my hands when I read them. And I don't know, there's something about that. But
there's something fun about being able to sit like. Now let me ask you a question. Do you have a place that you read your, like, if you're going to read comics or you're going to read a book, mind you, I think you're very much like me. We get busy, and there's not a lot of really, like, if it's downtime, you're either asleep, you're catching up on a show that you've missed, or you're getting ready to go edit something. And so when you do have that chance to sit down and read, do you have a specific place for it, or do you find yourself sitting at your desk doing so?
Oh no, I'm not going to do that in here. No. I cannot. There's no way to relax in here. This is not a place where relaxing happens. This is where if I'm in here, it's in work mode. There's very few times I'm in here and it's completely like the only thing is playing Fortnite because I got this ridiculous big screen for a reason.
Oh wait, you still play Fortnite? Because like we haven't played in forever.
Yeah, I know, man. It's been crazy. It's been weeks at least.
Mhm.
But I can't do that in here. I just like to sit in the family room. Let my wife is watching
Yeah.
something, she's doing her thing, and I just get to sit there and flip through my comic book, sitting on my nice comfortable couch. Oh, my
Mhm.
favorite is the very few days here in California during the winter where I can throw a few logs or even just a Presto log or whatever into the fireplace, have that going and read a trade. Oh,
Nice.
so yeah, I would say in front of my favorite place is in front of a fire, in a fireplace, not like, oh, this field is going.
That way, also, if you don't like the book, you could just throw it right in.
There you go. I thought Rock of Ages would be good, and then
It's like, oh, I was reading the Zeb Wells Spider-Man run. Oh, throw it in there. So
man, if this week, I think one of the things that I had the biggest laugh about was something I'm sure you guys are going to hit on tomorrow if I'm not able to make it. This is something you're going to hit on during the Agatha talk, which is because everyone's been a buzz with it. Oh, finally, we heard that name. Somebody spoke it. And, in the Alfred Hitchcock school of entertainment, you don't introduce a bomb under a table without it going off. So we finally heard a name and everybody got all excited. Right. So a lot of content creators have been shooting video and telling us about this character. And my favorite one was Theories by T, because he just dropped one section. It's like even Spider-Man had made a deal with this person, and in a series that is absolutely loved and adored by all. Because the Save Aunt May One More Day story, I don't think is very much appreciated in the fandom. So it was that little bit of obvious sardonic or sarcastic tone that I just absolutely adored. Check it out if you guys can find it.
yeah, and what's really cool about the One More Day story, first of all, that's what No Way Home was kind of inspired by.
Yep.
That's the whole thing. He had revealed himself in Civil War. Tony Stark convinced him. It put a hit on basically all of his family. He then became a fugitive. Kingpin puts a hit on him, and the bullet that's meant for Peter Parker ends up going and hitting Aunt May. She's dying, and of course Tony Stark ends up getting in, like after Spider-Man beats the crap out of him a bit, and basically goes in to pay for her, under a pseudonym. And Spider-Man goes into jail, where he breaks into jail with Kingpin and just brutalizes him. But in order to save May, Mephisto offers a deal, and that deal is either, May dies, or him and Mary Jane agree that they will never have been in a relationship. And basically they erase their marriage and everything else. I think the most frustrating part of that story, one, I got the concept because Mephisto's like, what is better than a deal that involves destroying true love? And it was a third party character admitting that, like, Mary Jane and Peter Parker was something of dreams. But then right before he like, they don't ask questions, of course. Always ask questions when somebody offers you something, because you never know. And right before everything's wiped, they forget everything and everything goes back to where they're not in a relationship, he reveals that there was going to be a May Parker down the road that was going to be their child. And of course, in like the last Secret Wars series, in I think 2014, 2015, we got the Renew Your Vows, which was an opportunity to go back and see what would have happened if they didn't make that deal with Mephisto. And so, and including what Zeb Wells did to Peter Parker and Mary Jane as of last year, that infuriated fans and caused them to not to go to conventions. It's not been good for them since. So,
well, look, I will say though, okay, One More Day, for what it's worth, served a purpose.
Mhm.
And that was to get people back into comic books, because
Yeah.
immediately after One More Day was Brand New Day. And that everyone got to find out, this is, his entire life has been reset. It's a brand new run.
Mhm.
And that temporarily got me back into uh picking up Spider-Man books. I think I got
Yeah.
all the way through Spider Island when that was going on.
Okay.
It was at that point I'm just like, oh, come on, because I think something happened, and because one person got to know Peter Parker was Spider-Man, suddenly everybody knew again. It was something, he did something that kind of broke the contract, so that bit came back too. And at that point, I'm just like, all right, never mind, I'm out. To heck with this.
Yeah, I
Y'all are
think that's the
making it
thing.
up.
A lot of people forget that with these comics, and I think this is what's important. Some people fall out of reading the comics, some people go back in, but they don't realize, like Amazing Spider-Man, so Amazing Spider-Man 700 was when, Peter Parker died. And that was when we started getting Superior Spider-Man. But there was no individual that did all 700
Right.
issues and the spectaculars and all that stuff. They're limited runs that they pitch a storyline, they do that storyline, and then the next group has to kind of build on from the continuity of that. That's why there's so much different styles when it comes to the drawings, the writings, the coloring. Um, no no one set, and you kind of like pick your favorite artist because it's like, oh, this one's going to this one, or Chip Zdarsky's going to do this, and you learn who you like. I mean, that's why you've got, different individuals that people follow and they look forward to. I mean, you can't be a Spider-Man fan and have read the comics, especially in the 90s, and not know Todd McFarlane and what he did for the covers
Oh,
of Spider-Man.
oh yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. It literal artwork. And by the way, it's interesting you brought up what happened in the Superior Spider-Man run, because if you want to talk about, from my perspective, everything's from my perspective, guys. I'm not saying anything that's factual unless I actually read something factual, but from my perspective, that was something that backfired. From Brand New Day got me back in. I was buying them for a while. But hearing about what happened, about the forthcoming death of Peter Parker, and that Doc Ock would be like taking over his body with the Superior Spider-Man run, instantly I'm like, blasphemy, to hell with this, absolutely not.
But it was a good run. I'm going to say it. It was
few years later, friend of mine, you know him, Trent, gifted me the Superior Spider-Man trade paperback, and I was just like, oh my gosh, was this good?
Yep.
I mean, it was a really good run. And it's also just a hilarious look on what Peter Parker's life could be like.
Yep.
If he just took a
got his
little
act
less,
together.
yeah, took a little less time being Spider-Man and a little more time being Peter Parker, because he ends up first working for the Man and then becomes the Man by starting up Peter Parker Industries. And it's just like, man, the way you could have been capitalizing on your intelligence. Instead, you're trading quips with a man lizard. Whatever. It was a really great run, though, wasn't it? I was just absolutely shocked.
Now, did you know they brought the run back last year?
No, I had absolutely no idea.
So New York Comic Con last year, I haven't read it. I will admit I'm a bit behind with a lot of stuff, but right around October 2023, they were bringing back Superior Spider-Man. Not him taking over Peter Parker's body again, but I think it was like a Doc Ock is coming back, and I think he's a younger man, and so he's kind of doing his thing, kind of like Doom was like the infamous Iron Man for a while. He was trying to do right by Tony Stark and stuff like that. But again, it's something I have to read. I had the first issue. I bought it while I was at New York Comic Con. But I will admit, and I especially loved once we did get Peter Parker back. There was one one issue where he had to get with the Spider-Man of other universes, all the other Spider Totems, to figure out what was going on. And the Doc Ock Spider-Man was there. Peter knew who he was, but couldn't let on Doc Ock that what was going on because it could change the events of his future.
Gotcha.
And so they mind wiped him. That's why it was never covered in the Spirit. But I love the way they did that. I thought it was really fun. how they kind of gave us a little bit more of a Superior Spider-Man story, but then explained completely why he never touched on it or even spoke about it during the original run. Um, but I'm literally, we could talk about comics. And again, it's funny. The death of Spider-Man got me back into comics, more so reading, because I was reading Walking Dead because I was interested in Walking Dead, but it got me back into reading, Marvel comics. And because after I started reading Superior Spider-Man, I needed to go over to Guardians of the Galaxy, and of course, Guardians of the Galaxy was coming out, and I loved it. But because the death of Superman was what got me into reading comics as a kid. In fact, got me into reading, because until then I was avoiding it like the plague. And so thank you, Mom, for getting me into the comic book shop and getting me the special edition, which I still have. Everything but the comic book is in pristine condition. So it's just how it is. But let's go ahead and talk about some things that I actually
planned on.
I
was just sitting here thinking, man, I have dragged this poor guy into comics talk he never even saw coming.
Oh, no, it was good. So let me see. I want to do a different way. Let's see. How do I like it? I think I like it like this.
Yeah, look at that.
We don't need big images. We don't need big flashy stuff. These are simple slides just for the sake of it. But I haven't seen the trailer yet. I'm kind of avoiding it. Actually, I've seen the trailer of this. I completely misgauged. For those of you who are watching, I'm showing the Thunderbolts poster above our heads right now. I did see the Thunderbolts trailer. What were your thoughts about some of the stir? Have you seen it?
I have watched it.
Okay.
I have not actually, I don't think watched. No, I have. I did. I've watched it both in people's own encapsulated review views. I've seen it on TikTok, and I think I've watched it on YouTube. I think that I like that they literally put together a trailer that explains everything we already know about this show. You know what I mean? Right down to them. Well, you said you haven't seen it. So what am I saying?
No, I've seen this one. I was talking about another. Another trailer. I'll explain that later.
I like that they do bring us to the point where all of these people are fighting with each other because they discovered they've all been hired to do the same job. I loved that. And honestly speaking, I would have been a little meh on this trailer if it hadn't have been for the very end of the trailer. Is that Bucky? Oh, this isn't good. I loved that moment. I just absolutely loved it. So, the trailer did exactly what it's supposed to, though. Made me excited for the project. I'm really, really, really looking forward to seeing this one now.
Yeah. It was funny. There was some criticism about this poster specifically. There was thought that the AI was used to generate it. One, this is a almost a bit for bit a recreation of This Is the End. The Seth Rogen film. If you put the posters side by side, they're identical, with the exception of the actors that are in it. But then there was also some concern about AI, because if you look at the bottom left hand, I think it's right above me over here where we first see Sentry, or Bob, I guess is what they're calling him. If you look at it, it looks like he has 6 fingers. And it's actually, there have been some different footage images that have cut that hand off a little bit, so it's not obvious. But I did have one person on Twitter, or I'm sorry, on X, that did do a little outline and showed that it's just that the part of the pinky is missing and they're just kind of overlapping a little bit. So it's not 6 fingers. It just looks like it. It's like one of those elephant, with the 5-leg type illusions a little bit, which made me feel a little bit better. What do you feel about the possibility of us now knowing who purchased Avengers Tower?
Did I catch that moment?
Did you catch that moment?
I'm wondering. I haven't.
Okay.
I feel like it was an entire week ago that I saw this thing.
Okay, so go back and watch the trailer. The moment that they are walking out of they go up the elevator and they're walking out and they're seeing Valentina. She's standing where there's these slanted panes and this bar that is very reminiscent to the bar that was in Age of Ultron. Everyone believes that this is the same location that she basically the government or whatever she's doing owns Avengers Tower now.
Oh, I'm okay with that. Yeah, I didn't pick up on that detail.
I don't know. I was kind of wanting it to be the Baxter Building. I would have
Well,
loved to
I
see
mean,
a Thor on the
dude,
side.
Fantastic Four First Steps hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
The Fantastic Four is not here to buy it for it to become the Baxter Building yet. But
Right.
we've got a few movies between now and then. I'm just saying.
Yeah, we do.
You know what I mean? There's still room for them to lose the lease or say, okay, well, let's give it to that foursome, whatever. They can have the building.
Yeah.
Let's give the really smart guys some space to work, guys. Work once for us. Let's do it again.
Yeah. Now, speaking of a trailer I haven't seen yet, I know The Last of Us Part 2 has come out. The trailer, at least. I have not seen it. Have you seen it?
Nope, and I'm not going to.
You played the game, right?
No, I haven't played the game, but I know I have because I enjoyed. Honestly speaking, I knew nothing about the game. I am one of those people where I was drawn in by the HBO series. And because of that, then I went and explored the lore that it's founded on. And I went through it and I'm like, oof, this is rough. So when it came to like, oh, it's renewed for a second season, I'm like, oof, this is rough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It hasn't even happened yet. I know it's coming and
So talking about unpaid plugs, did Last of Us have any influence on you about signing up to do those Magic Mind commercials for Netheads?
No,
because you heard Cordyceps signed me up.
Yeah, no, that was just so I could make that annoying little click sound. That's all that was.
That was what it was.
That's all it was. I honestly had to laugh, and I'm like, should I be drinking this? I'm drinking Cordyceps mushrooms. Wait,
oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! I was on TikTok the other day, and there was this guy. No, really, yeah, exactly. There was this guy who found a tarantula that was zombified.
Oh yeah,
Cordyceps coming out of it, and I was like,
I saw that. Yeah, no, that's exactly. What
happens? What does it take for a fungus to
get more ambitious,
step over the species barrier? Like,
yeah,
what is it like? Oh,
that wasn't good. That was not good at all. And for those that don't know, in this video, basically, it's outlined that at some point this fungus was able to infiltrate the spider and then make it a zombified spider that it controls and get it to go to a certain place. So that way, then it could finish going ahead and taking over and growing. But it specifically chose a place for the spider to go. So that way another spider could come along and it could continue its growth.
Yep.
So
like that was worst kind of chia pet you could think of.
That is and seeing that type of thing, that is absolutely just horrific. I can't even imagine. It's the only time in my life I've ever felt bad for a spider. Well, maybe in Charlotte's Web too, but that's the only two times I can think of.
Wait, Charlotte's Web 2? There was a
no
sequel?
Charlotte's Web as well.
I'm just
that's the second one. Charlotte's Revenge. Really
no, that
open license story.
Okay, so I this week I just recently watched the movie. It's on Peacock Plus if anybody's interested, or Peacock, whatever it's called now. The Fall Guy with Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt.
Yes.
And there's a part where the movie's called like metalcore or something like that, or whatever. And he's like, I'm in metal whatever too, like telling her, and she's like, you can't be in 2. We're filming 1. And he's like, no, I meant like as also. And so when you said Charlotte's Web 2, I had to think about that.
I don't blame you.
So yeah,
I understand.
Intrusive thoughts win, again.
Let them go. Let them go.
Moving on from Last of Us. Popcorn buckets.
No.
So we know that the middle of October, Venom: The Last Dance, which I'm going to be honest with you, I was scrolling through one of the streaming services. Or no, I was walking past one of the few remaining red boxes in my area. And I stopped and I stared for way too long at an image of a movie. And I was trying to figure out why that movie was messing with me. And it's because of this stinking movie, because of Venom: The Last Dance. because I walk past the red box and I see Magic Mike The Last Dance. And I'm like, did they do that on purpose?
I think so. I think so. I
Like,
think it was completely intentional.
mhm. But the one to the left is a Regal Cinemas exclusive. I've not seen a popcorn bucket for AMC. I've seen some cups that are going around that don't look good at all. But I will say the Regal popcorn bucket does look good. And then the one over here to the right, if you're looking, or if you are listening, just so you know, the Regal Cinema has Venom's mouth gaping open. So I'm guessing you can kind of stick your hand in his mouth,
Look,
preferably your hand.
can we stop lying that these are popcorn containers? Nobody's eating popcorn out of them. I haven't seen anybody have popcorn in one of these damn things since ever. Since ever. I've never seen the popcorn inside of them.
Oh no, because listen, I as a collector am not going to put something greasy inside of this thing and then have to worry about trying to clean this thing out and possibly listen. The Ant-Man the Wasp Quantum Mania popcorn bucket. If you look at it wrong, it starts to chip. Could you imagine running it under hot water?
Here's the thing. I'm glad you're sharing these with us. I really appreciate it. But I know now I can't do this anymore. It was at the point where I got home with the tin box that's made to look like the handbook for the recently deceased. And I'm like, this has got to stop. Okay. Because I got that and I'm like, where am I going to put this? I need to figure out a place to put it. You know, I could put it down here, but I need to find a place to put it. And then I'm thinking, okay, well, I'll put it in the closet while I'm finding a place. I'll figure out a place later. I'm going to put it in my print closet here. And at that point, I looked up and mind you, Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, right? Go to put it up, and what do I see on the shelf? In the plastic still, Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. And I'm like, damn it. So, it's got to stop. It's got to stop. It's just stop. It's enough.
It's funny. Like, I realize I don't mind the popcorn buckets. I do have a little bit of FOMO because I missed out on the Alien Romulus popcorn bucket. I did get an Alien Romulus cup from Regal. But that popcorn bucket was cool with the face hugger on the side. But after going to Disney World and seeing those popcorn buckets and really enjoying them, and seeing like how people who have those season passes, those key holders, can go and just grab whatever is out there. And like in Disneyland, they have this chrome poison apple mug that I would love to get my hands on, but it just looks like it's never going to happen. This is the closest I can get to being kind of like a Disney adult getting something. And it's Marvel. Will I get it? Probably not. I don't know. I haven't made plans to go to the opening night of I don't think so.
I thought about you one night this week because it was the kind of thing where it was just my wife and I, and we're like, we absolutely can't decide what we're going to have. And all we decide is, look, we're just going to get some ultimate cheeseburgers. Right. So we're going to go to Jack in the Box. And I panicked because she's like, get me a side. And I got onion rings. Not the right choice, but they gave them to me anyway. And I know your love of movie promotional food material. The onion rings came. I didn't keep it because just greasy and gross.
Greasy, yeah.
But it was a Deadpool themed, from Deadpool and Wolverine, Deadpool themed box for the onion rings. All it was like the symbol on his belt.
That's when I would have been like, hey, I would have gone back around and said, can I have just another one of the containers? I'll give you $1 or whatever. And I would do that. Like, it's funny because I was actually just, we sold one of our there's a non-functioning car in our driveway, and I sold it and I was emptying out the trunk, and I found the Black Panther Happy Meal box that I had been looking for. And I was so excited. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna flatten this back out and it's gonna look perfect and everything else. So yeah, I mean, I was the guy who, when Jurassic Park got me started, Jurassic Park: The Lost World, Jurassic Park 3, not so much 3. But that was the first time as a kid I had the entire toy line from Kenner of all of the Jurassic Park toys, and I had them really nice, and then Lord knows what happened. And then like it was the the dollar store had candy bars that had imprints of the dinosaurs. And thank God I didn't have an infestation in my room because
Yeah.
I had those. And then my friend went to the Florida park, Orlando, and got me the I Survived the Jurassic Park the Ride, which I've never been on a Jurassic Park the Ride or Jurassic World the Ride. And I really want that to be changed because that was my first huge, well, Ninja Turtles, Thundercats, Masters of the Universe, Jurassic Park. So, but it was the one where I first got all of the material. I had the Slurpee cup or not the Slurpee cup, the big gulps, or no, the supersized cup from McDonald's and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I obsess about these things. So yeah, it's life for me. And by the way, the handbook for the recently deceased popcorn tin, if you go to Spirit Halloween, they have a cheaper box that looks similar to it. That's like a fraction of what you paid at the, Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know what sucks too is when I what I've forgotten now for 2 movies is that I won a $25 gift certificate for my movie theater. So I could have at least reduced my cost there, but I guess I'm just going to use it towards the future.
There you go. All right, moving on. Since we talked about Venom, let's talk about Spider-Man. So we had talked a couple weeks ago about the fact that Sony was restricting Marvel Studios, Kevin Feige, from using villains that Sony was using. And there's been a little bit of an amendment to that. It sounds like I haven't found firm confirmation from Sony, but the way it sounds now is Marvel Studios cannot use a villain that is in a Sony film until 30 days after it's been on video on demand. So like, let's say Kraven the Hunter is going to go out in theaters. A Spider-Man movie is in the process right now because we've got a director, Destin Daniel Cretton, the director for Shang-Chi, which I really hope Spider-Man 4 has Shang-Chi teaching Spider-Man some moves like he does in the comics. But we've got him as a director. We've obviously things are in movement for it. But if let's say they wanted to use Kraven, they would have to wait the 30 days after it hits video on demand before they could use that character. So that
is like
exclusivity.
That feels like an incredibly tight window. Like that's not very dang long at all. I'm shocked, but okay. Which means already that like you put Venom, you put Vulture in. I mean, I know he was in Spider-Man Homecoming, but he's
Morbius.
Obviously Morbius. Oh well, all right, man.
Time.
Yeah, well, give me more. You know what I'm saying? More BS. No.
Yeah.
But it just seems like a really small window. But I think it's because Sony realizes that, guys, these Spider-Man things are just printing money. They're just printing money. So who are we to judge? I mean, technically speaking, we don't even get Tom Holland's Spider-Man without a hack of Sony. Actually, because of a movie made by Seth Rogen, we get Spider-Man.
That's right.
Yeah, that's believe it or not, that's how you get there. So I am just kind of shocked. That really seems in the entertainment industry, or it could be just a matter of like they've said, okay, we're going to lighten up on getting you back the licensing of these characters. Because what do they care anyway? They've got the stranglehold on the best one. Mm-hmm. Let's face it. He's not a villain. He's the hero. And he's the best property that Marvel just is probably so bitter of the fact that they don't own the movie licensing for right now.
But also with the new deal that's been struck between Marvel Studios and Disney, he will have a more aggressive role in Doomsday and Secret Wars. So, hey, here's hoping. I think, let's face it, Sony just makes money anytime Marvel Studios does something with the character. So it only works out in their benefit. And why would literally if you're a fan of Marvel and you don't know this already, and maybe if you do, I'm sorry, I'm repeating myself, But understand this, when there is a solo Spider-Man film in Marvel Studios, it is not necessarily a Marvel Studios production because, or it's not a Marvel Studios film because Sony owns the complete rights to it. Marvel will only make back the money that they put into it. They will not make anything gross. They will not make any additional revenue. They will only break even on the film because they're doing it basically for the whole purpose of having him in team up movies.
Mhm.
And so when Sony has a Marvel Studios film under their belt, they're just printing cash. That's
Exactly,
all it
man.
is.
Just let it happen, Captain.
Yep.
And just give us more Spider-Man.
Oh, I
I
know,
want
right?
I also want Tom Holland doing this till he's 90.
Yeah. There's actually a Spider-Man story about him being really old and
Yeah,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
just saying.
But let's go ahead. I know there's the Spellbound by Agatha All Along that we're doing as a basically like an after show, even though it's a couple days after the show. And we've got Tony Ann, we've got Sarah, we've got Johnny that are going to be joining tomorrow at 10 o'clock Eastern time here on its FanBox to talk about episode 3.
Mhm.
But let's go ahead and just address the giant red elephant in the room, being the fact that Mephisto was specifically
Name
said
dropped, yeah.
in the show, and there's been an interesting development about that. The director of or the I was either the writer or the director of Agatha All Along was asked about it, and as much as we're hoping that it means that it's leading up to something in the show, the way it was described was that it was more of a nod or a wink to all of the fans that had been speculating since WandaVision.
Mhm.
Now,
Yeah,
could they
man.
be lying? Absolutely. But do we possibly get more immediately? Most likely not. So, but as well, I would like to say, let's just have a moment of silence for Sharon Davis, aka Mrs. Hart. The saddest moment in the episode. So yeah, that was
I'm really
the thing.
hoping I am really, really, really hoping that this is something that just proves temporary. Because if it's not, I mean, it is just an absolute horrific tale
Yeah.
for that character. Because it's like she was so excited to go to a party and do something with people.
The interesting thing, another creator was talking about the words to the Witch's Road, and I guess they're in part of the lyrics. There's the concept of basically they can move on if they lose one,
Mm-hmm.
and then it says spirit as our guide, so we may see her as a ghost, which I think would be hilarious to be haunted by Mrs. Hart. Like a Sharon ghost is what we need. Like
Which,
that's beautiful.
which, by the way, each one of them basically having some personal hallucination of their own, like private pain, their fear. And when we got to see Sharon doing the having the hallucination, she relives to us what was also one of the most troubling things in the very first episode of WandaVision, when she just starts blurting out, "Please, Wanda, just let him breathe. Let him
Right.
breathe."
And it wasn't what she said in the episode. It
No, no,
was
that was what she was probably screaming behind what I just referred to the veil that Wanda put over
because
him.
all she
It's
could be
just,
like was stop.
yeah.
Stop.
Oh man, that was just
Yeah.
that was a great callback. I love a good callback, and that was definitely it. I gotta say though, the only thing that I'm mad about when it comes to this show is that I'm pissed that we gotta wait every week again, because I want to ingest it all now. I want to see the rest of the story now.
Yeah, but it's kind of funny. Like I feel mixed about it. Sometimes I want them all at once. I do love the fact that Agatha all along brought us back to the speculative side of it, where we can really
Mhm.
talk and enjoy. And I love sitting down with people and just talking about the show. It's given me inspiration to go back and actually make a video. Um, Last week when the whole Blackheart thing, I was going nuts. Like, I posted on X. I shared my X post on Instagram. I'm, doing a video. I posted the comments. I still, do I think I'm right? Maybe, maybe not, but it was out there and it made my mind run. And I haven't had that in so long. I was thankful for it. And so, uh, surprisingly enough, even like Deadpool and Wolverine, like, I wasn't super excited about a lot of the stuff that's been coming out with Marvel as of late until more recently. So, um
Well, as was said, you're coming at a bit of a low point. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
So
but I will be more than happy if this was just a momentary stumble that we went through, and now we are entering into, once again, an age of, look, let's be honest, okay? I'm going to say something. You're all going to get pissed at me, okay? A lot of the Marvel movie stories, kind of mid. Let's be honest, all right? Some of them are good. Some of them are light. Some of them aren't good. It's just now, in a post-Endgame world, people are they lean more to speculation. They get mad that things aren't what they expected it to be. You know what I mean? They're pissed that they don't immediately get connections between them. So the audience's expectations somewhat needs to be adjusted. But, at the same time, I'm still sitting here going, why did I have to see Eternals?
I liked Eternals. I really liked Eternals.
Mid.
Here's the thing. Okay. This is where I think this is where we have to understand and come to terms. Phases 1 through 3 was a whirlwind. It was like the concept of superheroes in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, like that world was new, or it was hidden, or it was still legend when it comes to like Captain America. These characters have been are coming to prominence because of huge events, the Battle of New York.
I would not want to live in that world. I just want to say this now.
That was great. Last week Sarah was talking about how people are in Westview when they mention Wanda, and it's like immediately made her think about the people in New York. It's like, oh, this crap again. It's one of those things where it's like, this stuff was so big. Now after Endgame, guess what happens? The supervillains or the shady organizations are going to learn how to be a little bit more covert and how to be more cautious, because they know the moment that they do something big, that there is an entire universe of superheroes who can really get involved. And we see what could happen at the end of Endgame. And so there's this normalcy where there are no big life events. And so what happens? Sam's back helping his sister fix the fishing boat. You've got, America trying to create a new Captain America and puts a guy who's a poster child, but has none of the morals or the Constitution that Steve Rogers did. You've got a group of clandestine Black Widows going around the world trying to figure out what they're going to be doing with themselves. You've got Ghost from Ant-Man and the Wasp. You've got all of these characters, and then you have this girl in Jersey who is coming to terms that she's a mutant, and she's had this amulet, or this bracelet that has triggered her powers that was passed down to her from generation to generation. And you have all of these little things that are going on that everyone's like, okay, what's the big deal? Well, no, there's not been any giant, enormous threat that's gotten everyone's attention yet.
Yeah, but let's face it, something as mirthful, right? And just silly as the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special tells us what it's like for John Q. Public to be in this world. Because the moment the ship uncloaks, or when they go down, it's not cloaked, The people that are just like the person walking their dog and the guy getting his mail or whatever, they get instantly freaked out because they're like, oh no, man. Oh no. What does this mean? So but yeah, I don't expect everything to be put in a neat bow. All right. I don't. But if you want to talk about the start of this phase, Tony, the rings are a beacon. Whose beacon? Huh?
We don't know yet.
On.
That's the only thing. I think that's the problem. There was no connectivity with a lot of these movies where we always knew with phases 1 through 3 that the end credit scene was going to lead us to the next movie. That didn't happen. And a lot of people didn't know how to handle that. So, and I also think, like, you think about it, we didn't have the Stan Lee cameos. That was a little bit of the cohesive bread too, or the cohesive glue when you think about, what were things you always look forward to? An end credit scene that led to us figuring out what the big story was so that we could speculate. And that's what Marvel has not given us in phases 4 through 5, is they've not given us a lot of opportunities to speculate. WandaVision did it. Loki did it. Agatha all along is doing it. Beyond that, not so much. What has Sharon Carter been doing all this time?
Yeah.
What is this? What is that? Like all of these things, like it's kind of hard. And I get that. I still love all of it, but I'm looking forward to us trudging forward. As much as I don't know if I like the idea of it being Robert Downey Jr. as Doom, at least we see we're going in a direction. Doomsday leads to Secret Wars, which really makes me think we're going to get a Doom world, and we're going to find out who's really behind the mask, and that the Tony face is just a puppet. So
possibly.
Yeah. Well, Will, we are past the hour.
Man,
didn't think we were going to have enough to talk for an hour, but we did.
We did not. We said we were going to nerd out, and we nerded all over this. This couldn't have gotten nerdier, I don't think. No. Well, we didn't. Yeah, I even talked about 3D printing, man. We can't do no more. We can't. It can't. This show can't hold anymore. It can't.
Yep. Well, with that said, just a couple of things to remember. Please make sure you are following us. It's FanBox. You can go to itsfanbox.com to go to the Nerd Initiative website, which is technically just the YouTube channel at this point. Merch store is coming. You can follow us on all social medias at It's FanBox. We'll be working on changing the Facebook page. I think the apostrophe is messing up the YouTube or the Facebook page. I gotta figure out, because I've requested that change a couple times. So I'll see how that goes. Also be sure to check out nerdinitiative.com for all editorial stuff regarding anything nerdy that you're going to want to see, comic books, movies, all that kind of stuff. Be sure to check us out tomorrow, Saturday, which is going to be the 28th at 10 p.m. Eastern time, which is 7 o'clock Pacific Standard. As we talk about Agatha All Along, episode 3, we're going to be doing it every week. Again, Tony Ann, Scarlet Bruja Bruja is joining us, as well as Sarah, which is Marvel's and which is Movies and Tea, and of course Johnny, Marvelous Johnny, is joining us, and we're going to talk about our next steps down the witch's road, and of course all the events that happened in episode 3. Be sure to check us back again in 2 weeks. And for those of you who are listening to this, please, again, be sure to like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast. If you're not, go to anywhere you can find podcasts. We would appreciate that. And of course, be sure to check out Will Wilkins, that Will Wilkins, as well as his podcast, Netheads. You can follow them on Netheads on YouTube. You're on Twitter too, or not Twitter. You're on
it's
X, and then you're also on Twitch.
If it's out there, it's Netheads on Air.
Yeah, Netheads on Air, and just follow them on
or
podcast
that Will
network.
Wilkins, one or the other. Try one of those on any social media platform, and you're gonna get one of them. And again, Chicago area. Wait a minute. Hold on. This is one thing I didn't consider. What is the date of the next show, Tony?
The next show is in 2 weeks, so it'll be October the 11th.
Yeah, I'm going to be at Chronicon.
Well, then I will be having a guest on, because you need to just enjoy that. Unless you want to hop on with Kevin Smith and just kind of say hello.
Yeah, like that's going to happen. Not that I'm saying I wouldn't bring him. I just, I don't think he's going to be dropping
Just say,
in.
hey, Kevin, want to help us?
No, I think, as a matter of fact,
a new channel, talk about the 420 show, or was it 430 or 420?
430 movie.
430
That makes
movie.
sense. I know you're on brand. Actually, no, because I think in the plan of events, Friday night is the VIP party event, which is a big karaoke night. So
Oh,
if
nice.
if I bow out of karaoke, I could probably drop in. But
No,
but
go do karaoke, have fun.
But in Chicago, I'm going to be 2 hours behind you, right? No, 1 hour behind you.
Hours.
I don't know.
I don't remember anymore.
I can't math.
One.
Yeah, I don't know.
Zones.
We'll find out, man. It's a mystery that no man can solve.
Well, we could solve it, but we're
no, it's unsolvable, Tony. Trust me. Modern science can't help us with this.
We'll see about that. All right, but everybody have a great night. I've been Tony.
I'm Will.
Have a good night. This has been episode 001, the new Fandoms on its FanBox. Signing off.